welcome to the 5th episode of New Game Plus Presents Graphic Content. Thank you, Ben, for smiling.
Always happy to be here, Jason.
Right, he's gone full Mike Willisy.
I remember him.
You do, yeah, see? Old people remember.
Ask the Leyland brothers. It's a different thing.
Again, but it's still old, yeah. So we're here to talk about comic books like we do every month, and
yes.
It's exciting. You don't seem all that excited.
I feel very conscious about my teeth because I think they're getting quite yellow from the coffee, so from this day forward, I shall be cocksucker face.
Okay. That's like Ass Face. It's like the sequel to Preacher.
Yes, yes. No, I remember him, and then the father kills himself because he gets.
Don't spoil things. Just let it go.
Spoiler for 15 years ago.
Yeah, all right.
By the way, Brad Pitt and the other one are the same guy.
God damn.
Dumbledore dies.
Stop it.
Snape kills Harry Potter.
Stop it. All right, so we do have an
Pac-Man eats a bad cherry.
Stop it. Phil Jimenez is our interview for this week.
Phil Jimenez?
Okay, that's one way to say
Aqua
it.
Oxygeni.
Okay. We also have The Walking Dead is the game we're covering, which is lots of pointing and lots of
Run, don't walk to your nearest PC game supply store.
Okay, thank you. And we also are looking at two comic books, which is Batman: The Black Mirror or the Dark Mirror. Dark Mirror.
The African American Mirror. Don't be racist.
And The Escapist, which is I don't know. Let's save our opinions.
Two ice creams of different flavors. One is almost more a sandwich than ice cream, and the other is a 1983 Toyota.
Okay, right. Good. Thank you. Aussie Spotlight. Thank you. Yeah, Aussie Spotlight.
Neville Howard. I look after Gaining Velocity. We've been around for about 3 years. We've got 5 books out. It's an anthology book with South African and Australian and New Zealand artists, published in basically all the countries, and it's good fun, and it's got nipples and boobs.
So comic books.
Books of comic sequential art.
Yep, that's true. Batman: The Black Mirror. Now, you're not a superhero kid.
No, I hear you're not either a superhero kid.
I'm not a superhero kid. Just doesn't do it for me.
No.
And particularly DC.
No formation of the pants when the mention of superheroes is upon your ears?
Not really. The only one that has ever interested me is Logan. And so, okay. So we're in the wrong ballpark to begin with. DC.
Balls Park. Yep.
Yeah,
no,
that wasn't what I said, but that's fine.
Yep.
So, Batman, is it good enough for you to recommend it? Is it enough to bring you back on board the superhero bandwagon?
No. Now let me explain to you why.
Sure.
It's kind of meh for the first 2/3, but the Jock art by Jock is jocktastic.
It's jocktastic.
If he was a strap, he would be a jock strap of awesomeness. Back to you.
Thank you. Now I have to give that context. So it's one of the Robins playing Batman set in the
Dick Grayson
future
is
Batman.
now Batman.
Yeah, it's future Batman. I don't know. It seems odd. And then
Yeah, well, there was robotic legs in it at one point. So.
yeah, and then so the middle part comes along, which is probably the best part, which is the film noir kind of part.
Yes.
And then it's just by the end of it, I just kind of think, why? What does this tell me about Batman? I don't really.
No,
know.
yeah, it was just a. It had a start, a middle, and an ending, and that
Yeah,
like,
it was by the numbers.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's not going to be the kind of thing that drags you straight back into these kind of things if you're not into them to begin with.
So, as an outsider, I thought this was going to be very Joker heavy, but
Yeah.
I didn't.
His cameo was probably the best.
It was great, but it was like 10 pages of an entire graphic novel, so
Yeah.
it was, trade or whatever you want to call it. So,
So meh.
yeah, just
general
meh.
consensus
Not
meh?
shit, but just if you're a Batman fan, you'll probably like it.
Yeah, 'cause
For
you get
everyone
more of the
else,
references, yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah. The other one is The Escapist. So it's I guess how do we describe it? It's a comic book about people making comics.
Yes.
So he buys a license to The Escapist and he makes a comic book.
Yes, he brings an old 40s character back
Yeah.
to life.
And it's based on a novel.
With science
Well, no.
and art.
Yes. Okay.
Mostly art.
Yeah. Versus.
Well, the science of a pen, I mean, ink comes out with no
it's not
gravity.
science.
Well, I don't understand it.
Okay.
Fucking magnets.
All right. Anyway, you did. That's fine. But I don't know. It was a really good tale. I thought, like when it started, I thought for sure we were expecting another quitter. I thought I'm going to hate this, and it's just going to be him whinging for however long.
yeah.
But it was really good. It's definitely a retelling, an allegory of the Superman origin story. I think that's what works. Like they play based on a true story vibe. And
I honestly thought it was for a fair while. Like
Yeah.
they did it really well. They nailed it with a zinc galvanized nail.
Thank you. And I don't know. There's nothing really else to say except for the fact that it's much more lighthearted than his other stuff. Because his other stuff
Very
is
lighthearted.
Why the Last Man.
Yeah, why the last good pedigree, Brian K. Vaughan.
Yes, that's correct. And also Saga, which is his new one.
Saga he's knocking it out of the park lately.
He is. He's doing some good stuff. And Again, this is real different from both those. They kind of have the real heavy, ominous kind of airs to them. This, a lot more lighthearted. Yeah,
On a scale of serious to funny, 1 being serious, 10 being funny, this is like a 7.5, 8.
But yet it's not vapid. Like
No,
it
not
doesn't,
cheesy.
It's not shallow, which I guess speaks to how good a writer he is. Because otherwise, there's so many times where you just read stuff, it's like, what the hell am I reading this for?
If you had to try to describe it to me, I probably would have thought, but having read it, definitely, I think it's for anyone. There's no specific flavour, give it a go.
Agreed. It would be remiss of me to skip any conversation regarding The Walking Dead if we're talking about video games based on comic books. Now, this is based on, obviously, the comic book called The Walking Dead, but it takes place in the same universe. It's not the same characters. There's very minimal crossovers later on in the game, but very rarely do they even mention anything that you would have read in the comic books. However, it's still a really, really compelling story. You play as Lee, who's coming back to his hometown. You're in a prison car at the start. All of a sudden, bang, you're over. You have to figure out what's going on. The zombies are attacking. You find a little girl called Clementine, and it pretty much just takes off from there. Now, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I wasn't a huge fan of this one. Point-and-click adventure is very 1990, and it just doesn't really make for much of a game. However, I guess as a visual novel, it's pretty good. Like the stories are really, really great. The voice acting is really good. What actually happens in the story, drives you along and makes you want to keep going. And hell, even New Game Plus gave it Game of the Year in 2012. But as it stands, it's not that much of a game just because it's point and click. However, if you like the universe, if you like zombies, if you like, I guess, something a little bit different in the point and click. We're so used to point and click being, Guybrush Threepwood and his rubber chicken and things like that. It's not funny. There's no real humor. It's not, drawn along by these, really funny over the top characters. It's gritty. It's dark. The comic book style really works. And I guess, if anything, it's a really good expansion to the Walking Dead universe. We're here to talk cool stuff like we always are.
Always.
And you've got Pokemon hats.
Hats, dude. 90s. Snapbacks are back.
Sorry. Gee.
So, the lingo.
Pokemon ones. I saw one at a petrol station that was Space Invaders, but I didn't expect to see Pokemon ones.
Well, what we found is the Pokemon generation have finally grown up, and they've taken over all the jobs now, like designing stuff, sales stuff, rep stuff. There's a company called BioWorld who have been great with the merch. And yeah, Pokemon Snapbacks. I mean, kids in the 90s would have freaked for these, and us grown-ups are freaking for them now.
And it's always one of those things, Pokemon has just transitioned from that kind of, the kiddie thing, but everyone's grown up. It's like the Looney Tunes.
Yep.
Of, back
it's the Star Wars for my son's generation.
Exactly.
We were the Star Wars generation, they're the Pokemon generation.
Okay, that's good. I'm up there, that's fine.
You're old, dude.
I know, apparently, yeah. But the other thing we should talk about is Arrow, which has been huge.
Yeah. They learned a lot of lessons from Smallville.
Because I think that was always the thing with Smallville. It's like, yeah, I get that it's Superman, but what the hell are you guys doing? They had no idea. They were all over the shop.
It took 6 seasons for them to realise Lana Lang was useless and needed to get rid of her. Then, when Jeff Johns got involved, it went a bit fanboy, and that's where people loved it.
Yeah.
Arrow's gone straight in on the fanboy. This season, season 2, we've got Suicide Squad in there. We've got all these great characters popping in. There are figures that are coming out already, comics are coming out already, and there's a convention already hitting Australia later in the year as well.
An Arrow convention?
Yeah, with Diggle and Deadshot.
Wow,
which is also the name of a porn I saw.
I've seen that movie. Yeah, that's really odd for DC to be that on the ball. I guess.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a yawn, is a joke.
Yeah.
Arrow first season they treaded here and there, and then as soon as they started putting in the fanboy stuff, and the Flash spin-offs coming.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt that he's a good-looking boy and he has his shirt off all the time.
Well, I mean, women do drive the TV audience nowadays, whether we like it or not.
I thought for me.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Whatever. But there is a big anniversary as well for this month.
That's right, and a lot of comic book shops around the world are celebrating Hellboy Day this Saturday because Hellboy's 20.
Comic books never change. So they're like, I didn't realize Hellboy was that old. I thought, but then again, I realized that if we think about it, that's only 1994, and that makes God.
Yeah, the 90s sound like a long time ago.
Oh God, yeah. I think that's scary to think about sometimes. But I mean, it's good to see that it's lasted this long.
It's one of the very original sort of owner created ones where the guy that wrote it gets most of the money, which unlike that Crampton sucker who gets nothing.
Yeah, I know what a poor sucker that guy is. But no, it is good to see. And he kind of made his name on it, and then just went from there. And It's good to see that
it's still kicking, still worth reading.
They're still making movies about it. So.
Yeah, they're trying.
Well, that's
read the comics.
Yeah, probably best.
I have a strange history with Infinite Crisis in that I was very, very excited to do Infinite Crisis, and I actually left another book I was working on halfway through to sort of jump on this one. Unfortunately, we realized by the end of the first issue, because we'd all started so late, probably about 5 months late, that I was never going to be able to finish the book. So by issue 2, the writer, the editors, and I were trying to figure out which scenes were going to go to different fill-in artists, because there was just no physical way that I was going to be able to draw 32-page issues and get the book in on time as needed with the schedule. I remember by issue 5, we were 8 or 9 months late. And so we were just sort of cranking that book out, like just passing those pages on to whatever, to whoever could hold the pencil, as they say. So my memories of Infinite Crisis are literally working with my editors, Eddie Berganza and Janine Schaefer, and saying, which scene goes to which person? I need reference for this scene. Here are my breakdowns for Jerry Ordway. Can Andy Lanning ink the Wonder Woman scene? I mean, that's literally my memories of Infinite Crisis. It was just getting started so late, a huge editorial, a large company crossover like that, just, we had to get it done. 52 had to launch out of Infinite Crisis. They weren't going to move that off schedule. So there was no late book either. With just those issues had to come out every month. I generally don't have much of a relationship with most of my writers, I find. I get a script and I draw it. Most writers, I think, know that they can trust me. I'd like to believe that they know I'm not going to do anything really to screw them up. I'm not going to be one of those people that when, for example, a dinner scene is asked for, I'm suddenly going to draw a giant pinup of a girl with the dinner table, 30 feet in the background. I think I'm a pretty decent storyteller, and I think most folks know that if they give me a script, I will work with it, not against it. And if I do have any questions, of course, I'll ask. But I get a real thrill out of working with people like Warren Ellis or Grant Morrison, and getting a script that's written so perfectly for me and then trying to give them back what they've given to me in words. It depends on... I would have different kinds of advice for aspiring artists and writers depending on where they want to work in the industry. In mainstream superhero comics, Marvel Comics and DC Comics as American companies, I would say just know that you are part of a well-oiled machine, that those characters are not yours, that you are there to sort of keep the brands alive and going. It's a great place to make money, a great place to establish your name, and it can be a lot of fun working on characters like the X-Men. But it's a small, tight industry, and there's a lot of competition. If you're going to get into independent comics, which I actually think is the way to go, I think it's really exciting because there's so many avenues now, especially with the internet, for young people to distribute their work and to be seen. But I would also argue that you're probably not going to make a lot of money in the beginning. And that's really the trade-off. You can work with the bigger companies and make a lot of money and work on icons like Spider-Man and Superman. Not going to be a lot of control, and that material will not be yours. You can work in independent comics, own the material, create what you want to, distribute it the way you want to, but you might not make a lot of money in the beginning. So it's just it really depends on what you want out of the industry.
So that was Phil Jamez there, which is always good to have I guess not even new talent, but have talent from across the globe.
Yes.
On our little show, hosted by us too.
Yeah.
I gotta ask. I've been holding off the whole show. What's with the hair, man?
What?
No, what's here?
Oh, I'm growing back my horns.
Is there a reason?
It's the best reason that I ever do anything that I do, because I feel like it.
That's a pretty solid answer.
Pretty much my philosophy.
Actually, speaking of doing things you feel like, your tank. How's your tank coming along?
My tank is coming along gangbusters. I'm currently in the process of connecting the engine and transmission together.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, I still have to build the track, so it's still a while away from running, but I can now turn on the engine and the chains will all spin without taking my eye out anymore. So
Yeah, that's nice. Well, that's always a positive.
It's
Like,
nice, yes.
it's not very good to drive it if you can't see where you're going.
No, being blind and driving is definitely something that only rich Stevie Wonder types can do.
That's true.
With like a
People,
really
yeah,
good
buy
guide
their own
next to them.
roads. Like,
Yeah, and they've got the 3-click system on their steering wheel.
Is that how it works?
Well, they do. They have like clicks, like 3 clicks left, 2 clicks right.
That can't be true.
Yeah, like they did it on Top Gear. Guy got
That can't be true.
Yeah, the guy got an amazing score too. He's just burning around at 120.
How's he gonna? Well, how are the clicks going off?
No,
Like,
his steering wheel had a system of clicks around it.
Uh,
And the guy
the-
next,
the-
the navigator's like 3 clicks left.
oh,
Four
he had a
clicks right.
navigator.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
because that makes a lot more sense. Okay, sorry, let's go back to it. Also, you have a comic book that you make.
Yes, comic books, and I make one.
You
Cranburn, Kranburn. Actually, also by the time this goes out, there's another comic other than the Cranburn Trade, which will be coming out, collecting the first 6 issues, and issue 10 of Cranburn, which will also be coming out. But there will also be another comic, full colour, art by me, writing by Mark Hobby, colours by, I forget how she wants to be called, so I don't want to say the wrong name, sorry, Noel Criminova, I think. I hope so.
Okay.
And
You'll get emails
letters
or
by Bolt One, he's called.
There you go.
He's actually an editor in England, but yeah, it's a great comic, really violent, basically Lobo on steroids with private detectives and stuff.
Sounds good. Well, that's the end of the show. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook. Ningo Plus presents graphic content, Twitters, everything. Woo!
The very place we in which standing now.
Oh, and gifts for the geek. Don't forget to like those guys on the Facebooks as well. See
On
you
the
guys.
Facebooks.
See you guys next month. I said month this time.
Yes, see you next month. Bye
No,
bye.
no mentioning internet, please.
No mentioning the police of internets.